All right. In today's video, I want to caution gold bugs to again take any bounce with a grain of salt, as ICLs almost always unfold as an ABC, at least an ABC move down. We may be gold may be setting up for that B wave bounce. This is the bounce where people, the traders still have the memory of this rally that came before. They're still worried about missing any of the next move. They're expecting the next move to go to the moon, and so they are very tempted to buy the first bounce. And then when that first bounce doesn't do what they expect, it doesn't make higher highs, and it doesn't go to the moon, but instead it rolls over pretty quickly and comes down and makes a lower low. Then it triggers all of those early buyers. It triggers their stops, and that's what tends to accelerate the move, and it can create the bloodbath phase. So I'm going to go over this, or I have gone over this in a lot more detail in the nightly reports, all of the parameters that really need to be met before this ICL is done. But just one of them, the trend line needs to get broken, and it needs to close. Price needs to close below it, and usually it'll go a considerable distance below it. So that hasn't happened yet, and that's a pretty strong indication that we aren't done with this decline. And keep this in mind. If this bounce starts to get a little traction, I kind of doubt that it's going to get much above, or even at all above, 2,000 before the attacks resume. Clearly the Fed and the banking cartel do not want gold above 2,000, so this very well could bounce up to that 2,000 level, but I think the tax will resume at that point, and they will throw everything in the kitchen sink at gold to try and keep it from recovering 2,000, especially on a sustained basis, and then turn this back down. And then my guess would be, once the trend line breaks, and I'm going to say this pivot here at 1940 could be the bloodbath trigger. I've noted this before, that a bloodbath starts when an important support zone where a lot of stops are at gets taken out. So let me draw in something that I think might unfold. All right, so just assuming, and of course it's way too early to tell if this is in play or not, but if we semi-assume that this is a daily cycle low right here, and we're starting the B wave bounce that may play out as a new daily cycle. And I went over in this morning's report for the premium subscribers that the third daily or fourth daily cycle scenario that this would entail. But let's assume that this is a daily cycle low, and we're getting ready to bounce, and this is the B wave bounce, and we come up here, and maybe we briefly poke above 2,000, and the attacks resume, and they push it back down, and we test this pivot again, and then we try and bounce off that pivot again, and it doesn't get very far at all. We come down and we test it again, another small bounce, and then that support breaks, and that's what triggers a bloodbath phase, is when a support zone breaks. So the more times a support gets tested, the more stops build up below that support, and then when it breaks, all of those stops start to trigger, and that's what causes that 5 to 7 days of all-out panic selling that take us down into the final intermediate cycle low. So I think there's a moderately good chance that this scenario here could play out, but I do not think, I think the odds are very low that this is a final intermediate cycle low. We just haven't completed really any of the parameters that I would need to see to convince me that an ICL has formed. So I think we've got further to go. I think we've got to kill the hopes and dreams of the early buyers, the people that still have the memory of this and are, you know, the FOMO, the fear of missing out, is still strong in these people, and they want to buy the dip quickly. I think we've got to crush those buyers before we can really get the bottom and build the fuel for the next big rally. And this is how it's done here. You get that B wave bounce, gets everybody hopeful, and then you get the C wave down to the final lows, and it crushes those people's hopes, and that builds the fuel for the next big monster rally. And I do think that we've got a huge rally that's going to set up, but we need to build the fuel for it. And this little, what I think is an A wave, this has not built the fuel for a breakout and a big sustained move. We need to do a lot more damage, a lot more sentiment damage before we're going to have the fuel for a major sustained breakout above 2100. So once again, the SMT is open to anybody that wants to subscribe, but only during the declining phase of this intermediate cycle, which we are in right now. And I'm giving you really good advice here for free as we're on our way down into this daily cycle low. Do not trust this first bounce. Once we get the bottom and we start back up, then I'm going to close the SMT. I'm going to prevent people from buying at these tops when their emotions tell them the all clear and it's time to buy, and they don't want to miss any more than move. I'm just not going to let people join the SMT late anymore. You've got to join as we're on our way down into the intermediate cycle low, and then I'm going to try and get you in at a bottom like right here. So I will put the link to the premium website in the description below, and this is your chance to get on board the SMT right now as we make our way down into this final intermediate cycle low over the next few weeks or maybe months if this fourth daily cycle scenario were to play out.